Put simply, the difference between assets and liabilities is straightforward. Assets are items that bring money into your pocket, while liabilities are items that take money out. The goal is to accumulate as many assets and as few liabilities as possible. In this video, I'll explain the differences between assets and liabilities in detail and provide tips on how to acquire more assets and fewer liabilities. It's important not to confuse the two. An asset in financial accounting is anything that can generate value, specifically money. However, this distinction is often misunderstood. For example, is a house an asset? Many believe that buying a house is an asset. However, unless you plan to sell the property, it is a liability, and a big one too. A house will cost you money for years due to the mortgage and ongoing maintenance expenses. That's not adding money to your pocket. Conversely, if you intend to resell the property at a higher price, it can be considered an asset. Think of assets as investments when you spend money to get them, because investments are things that can make you more money than what you initially spent. For instance, buying stocks, shares, and bonds means acquiring assets because they generate income through dividends or can be sold for a profit. I'll talk more about this idea later. Is a car an asset? This is another interesting example. When you buy a car, its value drops significantly the moment you drive it off the lot. Used cars are worth much less than new ones, so it seems unreasonable to consider them assets. However, some argue that since you can resell a car, it qualifies as an asset. In my view, a good asset should also generate profit. A car that rapidly depreciates doesn't fit this criteria. Whether you sell it shortly after purchase or years later, you won't make a profit because you can't sell it for more than you paid. Of course, there are exceptions like historic or collectible cars that can appreciate in value, but we're focusing on the typical car bought for everyday use. Difference between tangible and intangible assets. This is easy to understand. Tangible assets are physical and can be touched and interacted with, such as land, property, equipment, cash, and inventory. Intangible assets, on the other hand, are non-physical and include things like brands, patents, and copyrights. Financial versus real assets. People often mix these up, but they're not the same. Real assets have intrinsic value, which is their true value independent of market conditions. This is why they're called real assets. Financial assets derive their value from market trading prices, meaning you could end up paying more than they're worth, which can lead to losses. This is why investors like Warren Buffett emphasize finding the intrinsic value of a company to determine if a stock is overpriced. If the market price is below the intrinsic value, there's potential for profit when the market price rises to or exceeds the intrinsic value. Financial assets, such as stocks and bonds, are based on contractual claims and are considered tangible in this context. They are easier to convert into cash, whereas real assets like real estate and commodities are more challenging to liquidate. The mother of all assets, stocks. If you're unfamiliar with how they work, I'm going to explain it in such simple terms that you'll fully understand by the end of this video. Stocks, also known as shares, are among the most well-known assets with significant potential for those who know how to invest. So, what are they? Stocks represent a fraction of a company. When you buy a stock, you're essentially purchasing a small percentage of that company. It's like owning a single brick of a house. You own that brick and thus have a stake in the house. But why would you want to own just one brick? I'll explain in a little while. First, understand that buying a stock makes you an associate of the company. If you own enough shares, which means a larger portion of the company, you may even gain voting rights on important company decisions. There are primarily two ways to profit from stocks. The first, and most common, is through capital gains. This means buying a stock at a low price and selling it at a higher price. For example, you might buy a stock for $5 and sell it for $7, making a profit of $2. Do stock prices only go up? No, they fluctuate based on market demand and supply. The more in demand a stock is, the higher its price will be. If you anticipate that a stock's demand will increase, buying it could be profitable when its value rises, allowing you to sell it at a higher price. However, caution is necessary. If your predictions are wrong and the price falls, you could lose money. While some view this as a gamble, with careful evaluation of the companies you invest in, you can make informed decisions and potentially profit most of the time. The second way to make money with stocks is through dividends, which are issued yearly, semi-annually, quarterly, or even monthly. Dividends represent your share of the company's profits. Returning to the brick analogy, if you own one brick out of 100, you'll receive 1% of the house's profits. Does that make sense? How do you acquire stocks? The easiest way is to open an investing account through an online stockbroker. Your bank might also offer these services, allowing you to invest traditionally. Both options involve fees, and all transactions are regulated and taxed. You could also buy directly from the company, but this process is more complex and requires significant capital. Real estate property can also be an asset in certain situations. As mentioned earlier, owning a home to live in without plans to sell it is an expense, not an asset. However, real estate investors who buy underpriced properties to resell or rent can turn them into assets. The concept is simple in theory, but more complex in practice. Here's how it works. As a real estate investor, you start by searching for underpriced properties. Underpriced means a property with potential that has been mismanaged, leading to a lower price. You fix these issues and sell the property at a higher price. Fixing issues can include modernizing, repainting, or adding furniture. Various factors influence property prices, such as timing, location, neighborhood, economic indicators, and interest rates. Instead of reselling, you could also rent out the property after fixing it, providing a steady income. Realistically, you might not have the money, confidence, or knowledge to buy, rent, or sell property. You might not even know where to start. Does this mean you can't start acquiring these types of assets? Not at all. First, you can always learn how to do it. Alternatively, you could invest in REITs or real estate investment trusts. With REITs, you don't need all the detailed knowledge. You trust a company to invest your money in real estate, and in return, you receive dividends. Many consider REITs great assets because they offer high dividend yields and long-term appreciation, helping you resist inflation. Is knowledge an asset? Absolutely. Knowledge is an intangible asset. Here's why. Imagine you own a marketing company. Your business helps other companies find clients through internet marketing, handling everything from strategy to copywriting. As the founder, you can't do everything alone, so you need to delegate. You hire an accountant and a financial advisor for the financial side. Then you bring in content creators to produce the marketing content. Next, you hire salespeople to find more clients and convert leads into buyers. The better your salespeople, the more clients you gain and the more money you make. See the pattern? By hiring talented individuals who excel at selling, their knowledge becomes an asset. You leverage their skills to increase your revenue. The return on this investment is measurable, as you can track monthly expenses or commissions per salesperson and see how much money their expertise brings in. How does this apply to you? You might not own a company that needs to hire people, but you can become the asset. By learning a valuable skill that entrepreneurs need to grow their businesses, you become more valuable. The more knowledge and expertise you acquire, the more you can command in the marketplace. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to catch all my future videos. See you next time.